Louis Vuitton, from no money or food to a billion-dollar empire. Most people don't know this, but the founder of Louis Vuitton, which is one of the most popular and expensive luxury brands in the world, was actually a homeless boy. From homelessness to the height of luxury, the story of Louis Vuitton is one of determination, creativity, and the pursuit of excellence. In this video, I'm going to tell you his story and how he managed to create one of the biggest fashion empires in history. But before I open his storybook, please subscribe to my channel so you'll be updated with my latest videos. Louis Vuitton is the world's most valuable luxury brand, valued at more than $30 billion. Its origin may be traced back to the 19th century, to a homeless teenager who could only dream of prosperity. With little money or food, he took odd jobs with artisans and craftspeople to make ends meet. He didn't make much money, but instead, he developed important skills that helped him pioneer modern luggage and build a billion-dollar enterprise. Louis Vuitton was born and raised in Angers, France, by a farmer and hat manufacturer in the 19th century. France was still recuperating from the Napoleonic Wars at that time, and many farmers, like the Vuittons, were facing bankruptcy. Louis had little options as he was working in the family farm at an early age. He grew and harvested crops, kept animals, and stacked firewood from nightfall to morning. Louis' life grew much more terrible when he reached his 10th birthday. His mother died, and his father remarried soon after that. Louis' stepmother was every bit as evil as the villains of fairy tales. She made Louis' life miserable, and eventually he had enough. So, Louis discreetly snuck away from the farmhouse when he was 13 and traveled to Paris with no money or food. Fortunately, Louis was able to secure odd jobs with artisans and craftsmen who taught him how to work with metal, stone, fabric, and wood. Nonetheless, he wasn't able to afford money for shelter and became homeless. He frequently slept in the woods with only a cloak to keep him warm. The first railway connection to Paris was recently built at the time. Travel became more accessible and the industry began to thrive. Craftsmen took advantage of this by creating unique boxes for aristocrats. They frequently traveled with paintings, instruments, and furniture that needed boxes able to accommodate and sustain long trips. They also needed assistance in packing their goods in a certain manner to prevent them from breaking. Since Louis learned some of the skills on his way to Paris, he decided to find work in the trade. Fortunately, Louis was engaged as an apprentice by a carpenter named Monsieur Maréchal. While Louis didn't make a lot of money, his eagerness to learn paid off in many ways, as he became popular among Maréchal's patrons. Later, the Empress of France made him her personal box maker. Louis grew even more after working for the Empress for a year and launched his first business. He came up with innovative product concepts early on that transformed the industry standard. Traditional boxes were rectangular in shape and constructed of leather during that time. The lids were dome-shaped so that water would flow off the top rather than soak into the leather. This made stacking the boxes difficult and loading time-consuming. To address these issues, Louis examined numerous materials and then settled on canvas. When compared to leather, canvas was lighter, more durable, and more water-resistant. This enabled boxes to have simple, flat lids, making them stackable and easy to fill. While the waterproofing chemicals made the color gray, it seemed more clean and more modern. Louis made a slat trunk out of canvas cloth. His new innovation was the beginning of contemporary luggage. While people were doubtful of its benefits at first, it quickly took off and became renowned as an attractive and must-have accessory. Following that, Louis set out to achieve the same with a new invention: handbags. Handbags were not widely accepted at the time. Many claimed that they were unsightly, large, and would injure women. Still, Louis saw potential in handbags and began producing them in canvas. They soon took off, creating a desire for other designs so that ladies could wear them with a variety of outfits. Louis eventually became overburdened and enlisted the assistance of his son, Georges. Georges, like his father, came up with fresh concepts that redefined the industry standards. He invented a tumbler lock that transformed trunks into treasure chests while also preventing theft. Until that point, Most trunks had readily pickable locks. The products of the family grew even more valued. However, manufacturing quickly came to a halt due to the war. The Franco-Prussian War broke out during the height of Louis' business. Louis and his family were compelled to leave their home and workshop in Asnières, France, and go to Paris. They were housed in a crowded shelter with thousands of other refugees. Food became so scarce that the Vuittons nearly died of starvation. Louis came home once the war was finished. He was shocked to discover that his supplies had been taken and his workshop had been damaged. Using the remainder of his savings, Louis wasted no time in rebuilding his workshop and finding a new shop location. Fortunately for him, property values fell as a result of the conflict. Louis took advantage of the chance and bought a business in an expensive neighborhood. Within months of reopening, business was booming once more, with orders coming in from all around the world. Louis now felt compelled to experiment with fresh and daring ideas. Technology was good enough at the time to print unique designs on cloth. Because canvas is a fabric, Louis could design a range of trunks with a striped pattern. The new design took off right away. It gives people an opportunity to stand out and demonstrate how modern they are. It also made it more difficult for counterfeiters to imitate Louis' art. Following that, Louis received so many foreign orders that he decided to create a shop in London. The expansion resulted in a more diverse clientele, which included more royals and explorers. Louis became regarded as the only designer whose creations could be found in both the mansions of the wealthy and exotic rainforests. Louis eventually decided to publish his first catalog to make ordering easier. It was a realistic step that was guaranteed to propel the company forward. However, during the same year, an anticipated tragedy disrupted Louis's efforts in creating a successful business for his family. Louis died unexpectedly at his home at the age of 72. His reason for death is still unclear. It was now up to George to finish what his father had started. George wasted no time in expanding the company and headed to the United States to attend the World Fair. The experience convinced him that he needed a worldwide sales network. Fortunately for him, he found someone who could assist him at the fair, John Wanamaker. John created the price tag and pioneered the concept of the department store. He began selling LV at his New York department store after meeting George. It was the first in the United States to bear the brand. George then designed a monogram in honor of his father, a floral pattern with an interlocking L and V. Customers were taken aback when they noticed the monogram on the products. They were exclusively used for adorning their own names or initials on bags. But as time passed, the new design became popular. Following in Louis's footsteps, George and his son Gaston proceeded to produce new designs. Noteworthy creations include a bag for everyday use, the Keepall, a bag to carry wine and champagne, the Noi, and a redesign of a Coco Chanel commission, the Alma. George had already traveled extensively throughout the United States and established a distribution network. He, like his father, was going to take the company to new heights. However, history has tragically repeated itself. He died, leaving Gaston to accomplish Louis's unfinished business on his own. Gaston got off to a bad start. Contracts were terminated once the Second World War started. Gaston was forced to close LV's manufacturing and stores. After the war, Gaston entrusted the company's reconstruction to his sons, Henry, Jacques, and Claude. With their father's help, the boys ensured that new baggage types were produced each year. However, after Gaston's death, business slowed. Hard-sided baggage has declined in popularity. Henry, Jacques, and Claude differed on how to handle the corporation. So they requested Henry Racamier, their sister's husband, to take over. By that time, Henry had established and profitably sold a steel trading firm. He was a sharp businessman who transitioned LV from wholesale to retail and expanded into the Asian market. LV sales increased from 20 million to nearly 260 million US dollars in 6 years. Henry made LV public about this time. More than 1 million shares of the company's stock were sold. 2 months later, the stock price of LV began to fluctuate. analysts predicted a drop in sales since counterfeit goods were on the rise. Nonetheless, Henry persisted in building stores all over the world. He proved the analysts incorrect in a matter of years. LV reached nearly $1 billion in sales and merged with Moet Hennessy, a champagne and cognac producer, to form a luxury goods conglomerate, LVMH. The goal of both companies was to prevent the threat of an outside takeover. While the acquisition enabled LV to increase its investments, Henry became entangled in management disagreements with Moet Hennessy's president, Alain Chevalier. In the hopes of acquiring control, Henry approached a property developer named Bernard Arnault, who agreed. But Henry soon realized that Bernard has his own aspirations. Bernard covertly purchased a controlling interest in LVMH and received support from the Moet and Hennessy dynasties. Following that, Henry and Bernard engaged in a court struggle. The judges supported Bernard, forcing Henry to resign. Since then, LV has lagged behind other premium brands. It was seen as a tiny company, and revenues fell. No journalist dared to praise the brand. However, things changed when LV followed in Louis' footsteps, led by Yves Carcel, and came up with a fresh and daring notion. For its 100th anniversary, the business commissioned designers like Vivienne Westwood, Isaac Mizrahi, and Manolo Blahnik to produce handbags with its emblem. Such partnerships were nearly unheard of at the time, and handbags didn't exist in the world of luxury. Nonetheless, the cooperation was well received and helped to re-establish both LV and handbags. After a year, LV appointed designer Marc Jacobs as their creative director. Marc breathed new life into the business by introducing its first ready-to-wear line, designing the iconic Venice collection, and partnering with high-profile artists. LV has since expanded into watches, jewelry, and sunglasses, as well as continuing to release classic bags. In addition, the firm continues to manufacture everything in-house. Craftsmen must train for 2 years, and some items must be assembled in 300 steps. Today, LV is the world's most valuable luxury brand, with a market capitalization of more than $30 billion. Louis Vuitton began as a simple boy with a dream, and through years of dedication and hard work, he became one of the most successful designers in the world. His story is an inspiration to us all that anything is possible if we set our minds to it. Even though he was homeless at one point in his life, he didn't let that stop him from becoming who he wanted to be. When you put your mind to something, you can achieve anything. That's the lesson we can learn from Louis Vuitton's fascinating story. I hope that you were inspired by Louis Vuitton, which started as a homeless boy and with dedication built a billion-dollar fashion brand. If you like his story, please subscribe to my channel and give this video a thumbs up. Thanks again for watching, and see you at the next one.